Hey, today on this episode of Leadership in Tough Places, we're going to intro a conversation on Gen Z and the church. So we're really excited. Why don't you join us right now? Hey, well, welcome back to another episode of Leadership in Tough Places, where it's our goal to help leaders who are leading in difficult environments or leading through difficult things, challenges. And yeah, we're back. It's been a minute. And we've kind of been thinking about reshaping this. And so that's why I have you two here with me today. And if you've not been with us, my name's Joey. I lead the Block Church in Philadelphia. We're a multi-site church. But who are you guys? And what do you do?
Yeah, well, my name's Julio. I am our executive pastor of Next Gen. I also lead one of our locations here in Philadelphia, our Port Richmond location. And so I oversee our kids, youth, young adults, and marriage ministries here at the Block Church across all locations.
You're a busy man.
Yeah.
And you're not even number two.
No, I'm not at all.
What are you? What do we consider you?
I am the designated survivor. If all else fails, I am the contingency plan to all of it.
So if you and I are like on an airplane and it goes down,
he's next.
It's how it happens, man. Yeah, by default, not by choice.
Maybe he tries to take us out.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I'm number two.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with the, but I'm the executive pastor of ministries, and I oversee our location pastors. I also help lead our staff and oversee kind of the systems and ministries we have at locations and stuff. And I also pastor our Northeast location, our broadcast location. So yeah, that's what I do.
So you lead our largest location, and then our second largest location, and obviously it's our largest because I'm there to help you.
Yeah, toughest leader,
the toughest,
the toughest place.
Yeah, it's the leadership in tough places. Let me tell you, we're actually filming this sitting in our offices, which we're in our new building here, it's just miraculous that we're sitting here. But anyway. Not what we're talking about. Here's what I wanted to get into, and why you guys are sitting here, and we'll see how good you do and how long this will last. But I want to talk about Gen Z leadership and the church, I want to at least spend 2 episodes on it, but it could turn into 3,
maybe 5.
Depends on how good it is.
I don't know if they want to hear
a lot
about
of
that
Gen Z leaders in our church.
We'll see. Let's see how good the questions are.
Yeah.
All right, so I was at our young adult service. We started young adult ministry about a year ago. My wife kind of got it off the ground with our young adult pastor, handed it off to you and our young adult pastor. And I was at it at our 1-year anniversary. We had 300 plus, 320, I don't know what it was, but at our young adult service, which I was very proud of. Great job. Yeah. Here's all your roses.
Yeah. Amen. Amen.
Shout out to the Next Gen.
Yeah.
Shout out Pastor Julio.
Well,
Pastor Alvin.
Get back to Jesus.
A couple things happened. A couple years coming out of the pandemic, we're like, hey, we have to get younger. I was getting balder. And
Balder is crazy.
It was a progression. Actually, if you look back on the old clips of this podcast, you'll see what we're talking about. All right.
The more the hair went, the more the young came.
Well, what happened was
it's an upside down kingdom.
Yeah. Julio quit on us. And
he did.
He quit on us. He was like an intern or something, and he was he had the life, man. He was living in my basement, taking unending showers. And he was like, I've had enough of this. Cursed me out, and he quit like his high-paying internship. And so he quit on us, left us
high and dry.
And so we had to manage through 2020. What were you doing during?
I was working, doing life-saving work in the medical device industry.
Come on, somebody, talk to us.
And corporate America was so bad.
Talk to us.
That you had to come back.
I was an essential worker, to be honest. That's what I was.
He was.
So were we. So were we. Oh man, you do nothing essential. You were packing boxes or something.
Sending stuff for MRIs and CTs, man. Getting people what they needed.
We're grateful. We're grateful. Anyway, Julio was like, I can't do this. I need to work in I
didn't have a podcast like this to reference and to listen to and gain wisdom from. That's what it was.
That's what it was. So anyway, pandemic, tough time, whatever. We realized when we first started the church, we were kind of the new kids on the block, if you will. It was, we were popular at, like, in that our social media, like we had started Instagram before a lot of churches and yada, yada. We're 10, little over 10 years old now. But I just had noticed, like, after the pandemic, we were a little more tired and we were honestly older. I was getting older, and we were like coming out of this, and we were losing a generation.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so coming out of this, I was like, we have to throw a ton of weight into next gen. And as a church plant, it's hard to do that because when you don't have facilities and you're setting up and tearing down, like, where's youth ministry going to happen? Were you our first youth pastor, if you will?
Sure.
So to speak.
Yeah.
All right. So
On paper, for sure.
Yeah, on paper.
yeah. So tell us how you were doing, because I know you want this documented. Tell us how you were doing youth ministry.
Talk to us, man.
We were popping up shop, set up, tear down youth services and rec centers throughout the city of Philadelphia. So we're first multi-site
Youth ministry
rec
history,
center,
man.
youth ministry. We had no permanent facility. We go to Richmond Hall, which was another setup and tear down venue for church we had on Sunday.
Yep.
We grab all the pipe and draping stuff, sound system, the whole nine. Go unload it at the rec center, have youth, and then tear it down, load it back up, take it back to Richmond Hall, and set it back up the same
We were
day.
actually catching some momentum that way.
Yeah. At each rec center, two of them for sure. We were seeing probably 30 to 40 students regularly at each, and then our downtown one, Center City one, about 15 students. And
Which
stuff,
is crazy to, like, try to capture students in a rec center for a focused, youth ministry, and having it 3 places.
It was an outreach.
It had us
really.
reaching
Right.
people who didn't, like, students who didn't attend our church. Their families weren't there, and we saw students and their families begin to come to our church out of that. So
Yeah, what a time.
Yeah,
But then Xavier tried to quit after that. So
Yeah.
so he was finessing me behind the scenes and stuff. But anyway,
yeah,
he was doing his own art of the deal. You know what I mean? So anyway, so coming out of the pandemic, we got to get younger. We got to put an emphasis on it. How do we pull this off? Multi-site, we didn't have buildings at that time, so that we were on a journey. Anyway, we launched young adult ministry. It's just exploded.
Yep.
It's been incredible.
Just for context, can you explain, when you say we're getting older, right? For some churches, that might be we're getting into our 60s.
Yeah.
So for you, give us some numbers to work with.
So thanks for bringing that up. I'm 39. Okay. Woo.
My God,
Talk to us.
Okay. And, I was just a couple years ago coming out, the pandemic lasted a little longer in Philadelphia
for sure
than other places because we were doing all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm thinking to myself, like, hey, like, I get that I'm in my 30s, but this is going to pass me up. Like, I have to keep young leaders around me, and we have to keep reaching young people. We're losing a generation.
Yeah.
Okay, because remember that pandemic, that people were, their favorite word was deconstruct. We don't even know what that word means anymore, but they were deconstructing.
A lot of different ways.
Leaving the church and everybody's mad at everybody, and everybody's a racist, and everybody's, the church hates everybody, and the church is this and the church is that, and it's like I don't know what I am at this point. I was so confused, and a lot of good things were brought up and talked about and dealt with, and whether it was whatever. I mean, there was a lot of things
for sure. Yeah.
But it was just a crazy time where I think a lot of young people just had it.
Yeah.
And then, can I go to church? Yada, yada. And I was just like, we're losing a generation. And, like, we also we're 5, 6, 7 years old. Like, man, we got to keep reaching young people.
Yeah.
So you're 35, lead pastor, going through a pandemic, saying we got to reach younger people. Which is I would say, from what I see and analyze, a lot young, like a generation sooner than most churches do that. So I just want to, for context, for everybody watching this, I think it's important to set that stage.
Yeah.
You want to say, like, hey, great job, great leadership, great thinking. Is that what you're trying to say?
You did all right. You did all right, man. I give it to you, man. You did all right.
Oh,
you're here.
Man. Yeah, I'm here, man.
Talk to me about the generation we were losing. What generation was that?
Gen Z. Gen Z. We were losing millennials for sure. But I felt like I could fight that fight.
Yeah.
But I needed help fighting the
window of opportunity for Gen Z
yeah.
was opening, and you needed to capitalize and take advantage of that moment.
And respectfully, not respectfully, excuse me, like let me just say, in celebration, Xavier did a great job during that time.
Yeah.
I mean, Xavier, you were early 20s. You're 27 now.
Yeah.
And I mean, Xavier was leading at a seasoned 45-year-old level, and that we put a lot on him.
Yep.
And I think we're here today in part,
Yeah.
honestly, because you stuck it out and helped.
Thank you, man. Thank you. If you'd have gave me that, 5 years ago, I wouldn't have tried to quit.
Yeah.
But,
Right.
But it was a time.
So I gave that to Julio.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So, all right. So I want to okay. So we're going back. Okay, here's what prompted this. All right. So I'm at the young adult service. Okay. And they're doing an opener. So I'm like, well, are we in youth ministry? I didn't even know. They're playing this game, which was hilarious and fun, but they had everybody just as an opener stand up if you would rather text or phone call or whatever. And so or sit down if you would rather phone call, stand up if you rather text. So I'm like, I'm texting. I'm
millennial.
up.
Yep.
Millennial. Love a text.
Okay.
For real.
And so all these Gen Zers are seated.
Yeah.
They want to talk on the phone.
Yeah, nobody wants to text.
I'm like, what?
I hate texting.
So, and then it was several other things. Do you remember what some of those were?
Some of the ones was we did the physical Bible. So a lot of Gen Z prefer,
physical. Yep.
They want a physical Bible. They want to bring their Bible to church.
Yep.
That was a really big one. I'm blanking on some others, but I know that those were the two most extreme ones.
Yeah, I was fascinated at the Bible thing. I was encouraged by it. I don't bring my physical Bible to church. I mean, typically I preach with it. From the pulpit, but if I'm reading my Bible in the morning, I'm reading it on my phone and I have my journal next to me.
Yeah.
I know I've stopped highlighting in my Bible,
Yeah.
which I was maybe kind of convicted. I'm like, man, maybe I need to pick up my paper again. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm journaling, but
yep.
but I'm like, wow, I couldn't believe that.
Yeah. Same with the notebooks. We did notebooks or notes app, and everybody had notebooks. They want pen and paper. They want to write stuff down.
I can go either way.
Can you guys do cursive? Did they teach you cursive?
They stopped teaching it my third grade year.
I think so. I got it very early on.
I can write my name in cursive. That's about it. I can't really, but there's no need to anymore. It's
just sign checks and stuff. But just a sign.
But
you're gonna learn that anyways.
Yeah, and also to sign a check, you just print your name or
you know how to sign a check
on checks.
Well, I do my initial in cursive, so I can do my name, but I'm saying, I'm saying, bro, they accepted and cashed every check. But
where are you getting all these checks from?
A block church. It's just not. It's not necessary. Any reason you could put up to say it's necessary, it's not.
So this is funny, but Grace
and most things you sign digitally now anyway, and it does your signature.
So Grace is a millennial. Okay, Grace worked for us for many years. Okay, but I actually taught her to write a check, and so but we've never had that conversation.
Yeah,
and I just funny thinking about checks. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. That prompted that.
Yeah.
And I'm at that service now. Now, when I'm at that service, I preached that night. You guys invited me to preach, and I preached. And so on that night, you guys asked me to preach about hell. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, are you sure? Whatever. So then, so I preached about hell. Man, we have this incredible altar time. People getting saved. God is moving. Had a few kids walk out.
Yeah.
But it was
it's like that.
Three out of 330.
Yeah, Jesus experienced it.
It'd be like that.
Yeah. And so whatever. I mean, that's normal when Xavier preaches. But but it's for other reasons. But anyway, so I preach and it's presence of God. These kids are at the altar. I couldn't even worship at the end or sing or anything. I sat on the stage watching these kids move to the altar, weeping, worshiping, being prayed over, our Gen Z and our prayer team prophesying over them. And man, I was like, we are having a holy moment.
Yeah.
And it was so powerful. So then night ends, we sing songs. This is like a 2-hour service. So I was like, I gotta go.
It was like 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours, maybe, whatever. So then everybody sits back down, and then you guys, we've been giving to a pregnancy center, right?
Yeah.
So
we had been collecting an offering over the last 3 months We just started doing that young adults. First couple times we weren't collecting offerings, but we decided to every quarter look for a missional organization in the city that's doing important work, and we would give a portion of what comes in away. And so we had picked this pregnancy center in the Northeast, one of the only pregnancy centers in the city of Philadelphia, who's on mission right now to try and raise funds to buy an ultrasound machine.
Come on.
So that they can educate young ladies on what is going on in their bodies, and going beyond just the biological, oh man, it's just a clump of cells, but for them to really see and identify what's happening. And so we had been raising money. We had been letting people know, hey, we're raising money for this, this pregnancy center. And so on that service, we invited the director and the admin of that organization to come and join us for service, where we presented a check to them, as a thank you for what they do.
Well, so I'm sitting there and I'm watching this. I was like, oh, cool. Well, then she's like, can I have the mic? So you were like, yeah, sure, here.
Talk to us. Talk to us.
We got time.
She, not a Gen Zer, by the way. She goes off. But in a good way. But she was like, a whole thing on abortion, and like she's like, you don't have to do this, and we're here for you. And just like you said, like these are babies. These are they're living, and I mean she goes on a whole tear, and it was powerful. And people are cheering. And I'm like, what city are we in? What age group is this? I was like, this is like incredible. And not only did our Gen Zers give to this, they're celebrating this, and it prompted a lot of good questions. So she was standing in the lobby after, people are going up, particularly girls are going up and asking questions and being educated and understanding. And I was like, man, it's incredible. So that experience alone really prompted me to like, let's dive in and have some conversation. So I think I've been reading a lot about your age group.
Gen Z, say our name.
And one of the things that's very surprising is young people are trending, particularly Gen Z, are actually trending more conservatively, and not just necessarily politically, but like
in values and
and values and like family, and how am I gonna have a family, and how can I afford to live in this economy, and will I ever get a house, and like they're thinking about these things, and so obviously they're the ultimate entrepreneur age and opportunity, so multiple streams of income and all that kind of stuff. But I thought that was fascinating, and so I wanted to kind of start there. Like, you guys are both 27. You're married. You got married young. You got kids. I mean, talk to me. Like, is this abnormal? How did this happen? What do you attribute some of this to? You own a house. You want to live in real fancy stuff, so we got to wait on you. But, so like, I mean, you've really progressed in life and have accomplished a lot of things despite the odds being against you. Let's talk about that a little bit.
I think for Julio and I, there's probably some similarities in upbringing, context, things like that. Definitely anomaly, I guess, from environments we come from, in the sense of being here today, alive, well, and that's all by God's grace. I think as it pertains to, Gen Z drifting toward these values, conservative values on paper is what it would be listed as. I just think genuinely, they just crave real truth, and things that make sense. And I think, there's a generation that has lived through a period of time where things just, if it don't make sense, I'm just not like what are we doing here? And so people who have said, here's what the truth is, or here's what makes sense, or try to rationalize these things, they've seen how it has unfolded time after time after time again. So they're like, let's try something different. Let's shake some stuff up. And so I think, them coming to church, them following Jesus, that is shaking everything up in the stream of culture. It is trying something that is not looked to as the norm. It is embracing something that is frowned upon by culture. It is, and not just to go against the grain, but genuinely because as they've gone with the grain, it has not produced anything in their life that they are wanting any longer. And so I think it's a very obvious thing amongst this generation to say, man, I want what's true, I want what's real, and I'm willing to try something and embrace something that I'm actually seeing good fruit come from. And so that's my take on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think from, anecdotally, you've just seen life go wrong for so many people, and you see the values that they held, and it's like, well, I don't want that. And it's almost like out of like at least for me, and I know a lot of people that I'm in relationship with, I've seen what not to do and what I don't want, and I see what it leads to, similar to your point. Therefore, I must be open to something else. And I think when people really come to faith and really come to the genuine, pure, what the scriptures say, people are compelled by who Jesus was. They're compelled by his values. They are compelled by who Jesus was compelled to, which was the person that was overlooked or underqualified. And so I think that when we look to that and we see the true value of that, and not focus necessarily on just the suffering of the people, but the God who can meet them in their suffering. I think that's really what compels people to come and draw forward. And I think that's something that's really important. I think our Gen Z honestly cares way more about apologetics than like any 100%. Other generation that I've 100%. Seen. You think about
Cliff, at least for a while.
What's Cliff's name?
Cliff Stewart.
Yes. Big one. I mean, there's a whole bunch of guys. Yes, there's a whole bunch of guys like literally who are like YouTubers and TikTokers who are literally just go and do apologetics, stand at college campuses and field these questions that people are really asking and trying to do. And I think that people are more and more open to that. And I think that there was a time period in which those things were protested, shut down. It was too violent. But now you actually see a little bit more civil discussion in college campuses and things like that, because people are so open to just hearing something else rather than what they're taught in culture.
I mean, we've seen the most growth in our church in this season. And we've never been a ministry to hold back on the scriptures. We've never been shy. We've maybe at times been maybe strategically careful, and I think some of that can be healthy, but
for sure,
I think lately we've just been like, this is what it is, and the truth will set you free, and obviously in a loving way, and we've had difficulty with some humor, but I mean, and I don't see a drop off necessarily from our our depth in how we teach.
It's true. And to your point, like even now in the shift we've made, it's still strategic. It's you see people leaning into something culturally or within the culture that people are longing for, desiring. And so it's like, all right, this is how we're going to lean in and be efficient, be effective here, or whatnot. And I think for a time period in some generations and things, it was like there was like a baseline for like faith, truth, Christianity, value, things like that. And so I think churches and stuff over time, specifically within maybe the boomers or the millennials and stuff, they
why are you looking at me
he's a millennial.
You're a boom millennial.
He's a boom millennial.
You move like a boom millennial.
Yeah, he does.
How? Give me an example.
So like your practice is like millennial, but your process is like boomer. So it's like
well, give me an example.
Just things like, bro, like you
love text messaging.
Well, okay.
We hate text messaging.
Okay, but hold on a second. Boomers text messaging?
No, I said your practice is millennial.
Okay,
your process is boomer. So like you love texting and stuff like that, but like the boomer is like like we need to be meeting and staff in person, things like that.
Yes,
like that's
the
like
office
it's like
culture stuff, very boomer.
Yeah. That's like
if you're not showing
boomer,
up,
but millennials don't want to be in the office.
First of all, get
all
out of here. You guys come to the office like 6 days.
Hey, agreed. I'm saying this is how you process. Again,
I'm out here running this place like pandemic.
You guys are
Apple.
laughing
Yeah,
too
yeah,
much.
yeah,
like,
yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I'm saying?
Why are we laughing?
It's a workplace.
People
It's
are going to hell
professional.
every day. We're laughing,
Yeah,
you know. So
exactly.
it's like but your process. That's what I'm saying. How you
Yes.
process things often is like, you know, boomer mentality. It's like, you know, back in the day, man, you know, I used to walk, you know, up a
Yeah,
mountain
that's
and
true.
through whatever to school. But
true.
millennial,
I'd be at
you
church
love
at 6
texting.
a.m. cutting the
Yeah,
grass.
yeah,
you
Let
know,
me tell
like,
you
it's
something.
just
When I was an
like-
intern, I didn't quit. That's number one. But number two is, bro, you guys have never touched a light or plugged in a wire.
That ain't
you know,
true.
in the history.
It's just simply not true.
So when I was
simply not true.
I was hanging off trussing and rafters,
Yeah.
80 feet
Yep.
in the air, no
Yep.
wires. I was building my pastor's fence, man.
Yep.
I did it all without getting church
I've heard
hurt.
that story 10
A million
15
times.
times.
I'm
A
just
million
saying,
times.
man. Y'all out here, if we don't have like a lunch once a month,
If there's no
provided for
AC,
you.
catch me online.
I think yeah, and I say all that the millennial stuff back to my point of like and have the people who's doing all that stuff with your generation, they're deconstructing and stuff now, but I digress. You know,
maybe I was
But-
always in his hand, man. Maybe,
amen. The
maybe
elect,
I couldn't be
the elect,
couldn't
man.
be snatched.
Depends on what side you sit on. Reformed, how reformed are you? But you know, back to like the practice or the thought of strategy with church. You know, a lot of that generation was like, let's respectfully approach these things to meet people, and when they respectfully or like strategically and stuff, it's like, let's not come in too harsh. Let's ease our way into it, or
Right.
let's, you know, and that wasn't necessarily bad for a time. I've heard it said, or I've read like, you know, that was like peacetime, you
Right.
know, in the church, and it's like we can approach culture with a peaceful, I just spit crazy,
Yeah.
a peaceful approach, but now culture is like wartime,
Right.
And so since we're here anyway,
It's true.
and so now let's lean into we're
true.
just gonna come with it, because you're gonna be mad at it regardless.
Yeah.
You're either gonna be, you know, offended at this, offended at that, or you're gonna be like, no, this is what needs to be said. This
True.
is I need this,
It
you
is
know.
very
So
true.
What's interesting though is to speak to that wartime, you know, mentality, you know, culturally where
Yeah.
we're in, like, okay, you know, you see some of these mega ministries, Willow Creek,
Yeah, yeah.
and North Point or whatever, that definitely, you know, they all ran a play of very seeker,
Yeah.
sensitive, and, you know, careful. You know, the kind of the approach was like, this, what you see on Sunday is the showroom.
Yep,
If
yep.
you come to prayer or
Right.
or one of these, this is what's
Then we'll
under
really
the
get into
hood.
it.
We'll
Yep,
give you an oil change in the spirit. You know?
Yeah.
But like, I grew up in a church that grew quite substantially,
yeah,
and I mean, you know, today that church is, I don't know, 6,000 people, whatever they are. But I mean, when I was going, it was 3,000 people.
Yeah.
And I don't ever remember a time in the church that I grew where we got saved, became Christians.
Yeah.
We're from Philly. We moved to Orlando. We got saved at this church.
Yep.
Like, I don't ever remember a time where our church ever did we had seeker strategy,
Sure.
but the content
outreach,
was
Yeah,
never,
you meet people where they're at.
Yeah.
but the content was never ever, and they just kept growing. They never stopped growing.
Yeah.
yeah.
So a part of me doesn't buy into that. Like, I think this is a whole side conversation,
Sure,
but
sure.
maybe we didn't ready believers for war.
Yeah.
We just
Agreed.
We just developed them for peace, and you know,
With the right content, just the wrong mentality. Is what you're saying.
I don't know if it was
Yeah.
the right content.
Okay.
I'm saying our church growing up, I think we did a good job with all the content
Yeah, yeah.
from the pulpit. I'm saying that some of these, I'm not trying to hate on some of these mega ministries,
Yeah,
because
for sure.
everybody's got to run their
Yep,
own
yep.
race and
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
and answer. But I'm just saying it's possible that within that seeker
Movement
phase,
Yeah.
that we didn't ready Christians for battle, and so when the battle came, they really they weren't equipped to handle the pandemic phase,
Pressures of culture,
or
you
any
know.
of that
1000.
stuff, or when they went off to college
100%.
and so forth. And I think what we're talking about now is Gen Z. We're not holding back, and it's
Yeah.
working because they've seen the other side.
Yeah.
For sure.
And also like the gimmicks and stuff are secondary for us, like for Gen Z. It's like
Yeah.
like, again, the lights, all that stuff is cool. You know, it's nothing to it. And you know, not hating on any church that, you know, uses those methods. We do.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
more about what's the base of what you're providing. You know, what's that content, you know, to your point. And that's what Gen Z desires. Truth, you know, unapologetically.
I think church today, particularly with young people, and I think this is another episode, but maybe it can be a little teaser, but I think what works is presence.
Yep.
What works is truth.
Yep.
What works is connection.
Yep.
You know, when we have 300 some Gen Zers in a room, like, I'm hoping they meet each other.
Yeah,
I'm hoping
100%.
they get married.
Yep.
You know, I'm hoping that a relationship sprouts. And I think it's healthy for them to want that.
Yeah.
I don't think there's no shame in that.
At
like,
all.
let's get these 300 plus young people in here and let's get them mingling.
Yeah.
So
They're
that
here
they
till
can,
midnight.
they're there till midnight.
Yeah.
Just
past midnight.
meeting and thank God they're at church
Right.
hanging for
On a Friday night.
On a Friday night,
Yeah.
no alcohol,
Right.
Yep.
you know, no weed, at least I didn't think, having a great time
It
in
might
the
have
presence
smelled
of
like
God,
it.
because there's no high like the Most High.
Come
Come
on,
on,
somebody.
somebody.
So, but I'm just saying, like, it's you know, it's possible.
Amen.
Let me ask you guys this question though, just kind of to try to stay on the lane of our subject. Like, before we can really reach Gen Z and lead Gen Z, how does a Gen Z leader lead himself?
Yeah.
How do you lead yourself? What do you attribute to some of your healthy rhythms to?
Yeah.
Obviously, besides living in my basement, going under Furjanic University.
Yeah.
But talk to me about that, Julio.
I think one thing that Gen Z does super well, and I see this as a common theme for those who are mature in faith and in their emotional health, is to learn to embrace their limits. And I think that for me, like, I'm not trying to be Superman.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to prove nothing to nobody. I'm not trying to necessarily, you know, climb a ladder per se. I'm just living my life. And I think most people go about that way. Do they desire those things? Absolutely.
Sure.
But even when you talk about like the work culture, like, you know, that's why the boomers don't bang with the Gen Z, because the boomer would give 80 hours, you know, at salary. Yes.
You know,
And then it's like a Gen Z, it's like, yo, it's 5 o'clock, I'm out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think some of that is just a level of comfort with like, hey, this is what God is doing in me. And my identity is not wrapped up in what I do. My identity is not wrapped up in the church, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like I don't live, breathe, and wake up every day to only do this. It's one of the components that I laid my life down. It's one of the components in which I sacrifice. But who I want to be internally is the best disciple that I can be, be the best husband that I can be the best father that I can be. Those things define me more than what I put my hand to. And I think that you have to lead yourself in that way. And you have to make sure that you're making sure that you're correcting your mindset when your identity starts to become tied to what you do, because then you just can't lead yourself in that way. You'll lead yourself into a deeper hole.
Yeah.
And
Or
so
you lose your family.
yeah,
Yep,
for
yep,
sure.
yep.
And it's like, and we've seen that, like, you know, it's like you've seen that in other generations where it's like, yeah, like, you know, you were present, like, yeah, you provided, but you weren't present. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, everybody has trauma. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody has like, you know, like issues and stuff growing up. But I think that Gen Z has really mastered the art, like, or in philosophy, aligns more with what I do doesn't always define who I am from a work and professional setting.
So, but let me push back on some of that a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know push back, but like, I mean,
Okay, boo millennial,
Yeah,
talk to me.
millennial.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm ready.
but
Process of thought.
but you guys know how to put in hours. Okay, you guys know how to, you can put in hours
For sure.
and enjoy
that's
it,
not
love
wrong.
it.
That's not wrong at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and clearly you are a minister, and that is also, you're a shepherd, a pastor, a leader that oozes from who you are. You probably lead your family in that way.
Yeah.
But like, okay, I've seen you put in many hours, but how then, you know, do you also manage and balance? Balance is, I don't know if that exists, but how do you work so hard?
Manage the tension of those things. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you manage attention?
I think for me, what I've learned is I've had to, you know, pick up rhythms. So there's certain things like, man, like Monday nights, like they're for my family. You know what I'm saying? Like we have dinner. It's like our routine. Every Monday night is family dinner. We have family dinner other days, all right? So don't get worried. But it's one of those like untouchable things. You know what I'm saying? But the thing of that is like because I love people so much and my wife and I we love people so much. Sometimes we invite people over to our house on a Monday because we want to and we desire to, not because we have a pressure of like, oh man, I got to grow the ministry. I got to put this or I got to do this or I got to meet with that person. They're going through X, Y, and Z. Sometimes just out of the natural overflow of the love that we have in our family, we're like, man, let's just laugh tonight. Let's invite so and so over and invite them over. And so, and I do, so it's like, yes, like on paper, I'm putting in the hours, but it's the mentality of, I'm not doing this out of a grind or I'm going to die, you know, type deal. It's more of like, hey, I love people and I love what I do and I'm going to spend this time. And I think my family is oriented in that way. Like they love hosting people. My wife loves hanging out with people. Like there is a culture that I set in my family to try and be Christ-like. So these things don't feel like chores.
Is that a Gen Z thing or is that just a healthy human thing?
It's a healthy human thing, definitely a healthy believer thing. But I think, you know, when and ministry is a little bit different, but everybody gets caught up in even if you're not a even if you're not a follower of Christ, it's like, you know, I'm a follower of Christ. Anything I put my hand to and stuff, I want to do well. I want to do successfully. I'm going to work hard. And that's part of it, right? It's like I put in hours, things like that. It's a way that I honor the Lord with my life. But recognizing it's not what determines my value as it pertains to me being in Christ. You get what I'm saying? Right. It's like it's a function out of my value in Christ that I try to add value to the things that I'm a part of. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's a healthy human thing.
A good example would be like, you know, I'm on TikTok, you know, and so like I'm seeing like the people who complain most about corporate stuff or whatever, it's like all millennials. Like it's like, man, it's like everything's a dig. Like they take everything so personal in a professional setting and like whatever. And I know you're different, right? You're your own boss.
And for clarity, I want to set the record straight. Millennials have set most of the precedent for the work, for the hatred of the office, and a lot of it comes to Gen Z. But millennials have been running that
sounds like millennialism.
It is.
A Gen Z, aside from people who are like in like places where it's like, man, if you're in the medical field, obviously there's a direct path, right? If you're like trying to be a lawyer, like direct path. But I think most people, it's like, yeah, I'm just going to work and like if I get a promotion, cool. But like also like I love music. I'm gonna go write my own music at home. I like writing poems. I'm gonna go and do that. I got a side business. I got a side hustle. I got a cleaning business. I got this or I got that. I'm flipping stuff on the side, and it's like they get more like we get more excitement out of like the adventure stuff aside things rather than like, man, this thing that I do 9 to 5, you know. And so it is a healthy believer, but it's like it just is like the identity with work relationship is just not there, and I see that so often. So if even for young adults, like they're like, man, like I'm not picking up overtime if there's young adult service. Like I feel like people in other places, they're like, oh man, I gotta get ahead. I'm gonna lose time. I gotta do this, and it's like for us, it's just like like the things that I love, I gotta make space for and time for. Even at a super baby Christian Gen Z person would do that.
Maybe that's the line right there that kind of defines Gen Z is I gotta do the things that I love, and that is first. Is that what you're saying?
I think so. I wouldn't say it's first. It just it has a value. Yeah, there's a greater value on that than necessarily what I do or how I pay my bills.
But isn't that kind of
also the freedom of life?
Well, isn't that kind of whack though? It's like, okay, sometimes you just gotta toughen up and you gotta just do what you gotta do.
Well, that's why I say it's a part of. So it doesn't have to be the first thing. Right. I can work this job and to fuel my actual passion here. Doesn't mean I give less to this, but it definitely means I give more to my passion and my value, you know, and what so it's a part of. It's not really like, you got to thug it out. You got to toughen up, you know, in the sense of you can't always just live what you love. You know what I'm saying? In pureness. Like, it's like, I can't just, you know, do what I love to do all the time. There comes with some grind. There comes with and some people, it comes with a different thing that's fueling what they love and the passion to that and stuff. So definitely you gotta toughen up and do what you gotta do.
Because a lot of the complaints online about Gen Z is that they're not great in the office or work or
and again
at their jobs
and again they can, you know, whatever they can say whatever online, but millennial, for clarity, they set that precedent.
So it's like if you're not doing what we're doing,
funny is like millennials have had way more influence than Gen Z. way more time in the office and things like that, way more complaints. They've started way more major movements and things like that. And so it's just funny that, you know, they attribute all these things and all these patterns or rhythms or whatever to
Yeah.
Gen Z.
Right.
Well, it's like, yeah, we picked up on some of them, you know, if you will. Well, I guess we're just a little more honest, you
Yeah.
know, with what we desire and what we love and things like that. But
Yeah, and we're also, I think the value that we bring is just different too. Like, you know, when you think about a corporate environment, it's like, okay, we don't want to, like, Gen Z has the tools necessary for marketing, you know, and being able to do that. Like, I even think, like, in a church setting, like, our young adults content does the best out of all of the
does.
content.
Yeah.
That it
And it's
performs so well.
it is the goofiest stuff.
And that's-
exactly,
you know,
I see this
millennial
stuff,
and boomer
and I'm
in
like,
process
we're
right
taking
there.
a step backwards, you know, on
And
our
we've increased
level.
engagement.
Yeah, and we
Yeah,
have, that is
exactly.
okay. That is a great point. It's
Yeah.
like I was a stickler on a lot of our social media stuff. Man, this has got to
Yeah.
be excellent. This has got to be
Yeah.
whatever. And then you guys were like, please move out of the way. Well, really, I was like, okay, we got to
Yeah,
get younger.
right.
Yeah.
And then
And we
turning
said
over the
bet.
reins.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's like, this stuff is terrible.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, it's so organic and
Yeah.
it's not designed. And it's like,
Yeah, it filmed
and
on the iPhone.
Well, it's tough
bro,
if
it's
you think
not-
about it. It's like you're having to reframe your idea of what excellence is now.
True.
You know, it's like it's
Maybe.
different for different generations.
maybe,
Yeah.
maybe, I mean, it's working excellently. It doesn't mean it's excellent. I mean,
For sure.
Well, but that's
Yeah.
but that's the thing. That's your opinion. Because, for example, you sent in our group chat the other day the video of which photo looks better or which
Oh,
video
yeah.
looks better.
Yeah.
And you're like, millennial is like this one with all the edits and all those different things. Right away, I was like, dude, this looks depressing. This is
Right,
ugly. I
right.
don't like this.
Yeah.
The other thing was way
Simple,
more
like,
clean,
just chill,
simple,
organic, yeah.
great to me. And so like the effort that goes into it can't lack excellence.
Right.
But the product itself, you almost have to redefine what is excellence in this, like not in effort,
Yep.
but in the perspective or philosophy.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Back to leading, you know,
Yeah.
rhythms, keeping those things in front of me, doing things that I love and that honor the Lord, you know, like that's definitely a way that I lead myself. And then I think for me in this season, like I think I'm enjoying a lot of more spontaneity. You know what I mean? Like you hit me up, you know, hey, let's take the kids to the movies. And I'm like, all right, bet, let's do it. You know what I'm saying? And I think for myself, like I am enjoying that so much more.
I'm going to be so interested. So our youngest, well, your oldest, my youngest
Yeah.
is the same age
Right.
as yours.
Yep.
I'm so interested as to how Roman will turn out being led by
By
a
a
Gen
Gen-
Z
Yeah.
family and how
Yeah,
Jovi
yeah.
will turn out being led by
Yeah.
A full millennial.
and Jovi she's a CEO already.
Yeah.
So all right, I want to land the plane here.
Yeah.
I don't know how long we've talked, but I want to just like help a Gen Z church leader
Yeah.
lead themselves.
Yeah.
And working in an environment where they maybe they're in a tough place, maybe they're in a city, maybe they're planting in a city, maybe they work for 55-year-old,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
or whatever.
Or a 39-year-old, 40-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk to Gen Z leaders. How can they manage those tensions?
Yeah.
How have you done that? And yeah, I mean, how can they lead themselves as they're in those environments?
Yeah. I would just say set a baseline for, you know, what produces a healthy version of you regularly. So in the sense of me, I categorize it like spiritually, emotionally, physically, right? Relationally, you throw in it there as well. But like, you know, making sure I'm leading myself well with first starting with my relationship with the Lord. You know, spiritually, am I in the Word? Am I praying? Am I fasting? You know, making sure that that rhythm is set. That's my baseline. Secondly, you know, emotionally, relationally with my wife and things, making sure that, you know, we're on the same page, like we're connecting, we're loving each other well. You know, are our values aligned? You know, things that we love about one another. Are we speaking life into one another and things like that? Physically is a big piece too. It's like, you know, are you eating right?
It's true.
You getting enough sleep? You know, you working out, things like that. I need to work out more. You know, I'm not perfect. But you know, there's that. And I just think those three things most of the time I think Gen Z or even millennials, whoever, in any sphere of leadership where they are, if those three things are intact, they're probably going to be good and fine. It's usually that one of those things are off track. But for any Gen Z leader, I would encourage you, make sure your life is right with the Lord. Make sure, relationally, if you're married, things like that, even community outside of that, make sure you got some people you can cut it up with, some brothers and sisters in the faith, especially when you're in high pressure, environments, tough places where you got to lead and stuff. All the more reason to have more laughs in your life. And then thirdly, physically, just make sure you're taking care of yourself. And, this is my last thing that I just say. And this is, I guess, for Gen Z is like, don't take yourself too seriously. And I think that's important. Be serious when you need to be, and, like stand on business when you need to, and like take care of things. But don't take yourself too seriously. It's going to rob you of joy, of peace. And it's going to get you in your head, and have you burning out, tapping out, whatever, before it was even crashing out. Yeah, there you go. Okay, boom. Okay, boom, millennial.
Talk it. Yeah.
So that's what I would say. Get that base foundation laid, and that's how you're going to lead yourself through whatever environment you find yourself in.
It's good. I want to say additionally to that, I would say if you're a Gen Z, you're a leader within a church, you're a leader in the marketplace, I would say have conversations with your higher ups about how you might disagree on philosophy, maybe because of age, and become aligned on what the result and the end result is, right?
Compromise, yeah.
And find a compromise between the two, right? So like there's ways that Xavier and I lead ourselves that might be different than you. We have all the same objective and the same outcome.
Yeah.
How we go about it might look different, right? And I think that we have conversations all the time on how we might, view something differently, but still achieve the same outcome. Yeah. And I think those are really healthy conversations. I think that's why we thrive together and we do a good job working together, is because we have addressed where the tension is, and we at least can agree to disagree and at least see why we think the way that we do. And so if you find yourself clashing with your lead pastor, clashing with the board or something about how you want to change something, clashing with your boss, have that conversation and say, hey, how is the dynamic of our generational difference impacting the way that we're working together and impacting the results that we're trying to see? And go ahead. Yeah, no, that's great.
Were you still going?
No, go ahead. That's all I had.
And to that, let me also just say off Julio's note, this is so good, is like, don't just say things in theory, but like make sure you got, when you're like, oh, I differ in thought with you, but I still care about success, or I care about reaching people, I care about whatever, will show that your philosophy leads to this, or like the way you go about it still leads to this end result.
It could.
And it could.
Our social media, it's leading to results. Our young adults ministry is growing. So it's like there's still tangibles that you got to hit. That's what you're saying.
Because a lot of times they'll just talk.
Yes.
It's just,
or I feel this.
I feel, whatever.
That'll make me crash.
And if we're ever dialoguing with PJ, and PJ's, in the process of thought of boomer, millennial, whichever he chooses to decide that day. But it's like if we're disagreeing about whatever, but it's like, all right, PJ, I hear you or whatever.
Yep.
Here's what we both care about, and here's how I'm getting these. And I'm putting up stats, or you're putting up stats, or whatever. And I think that's important too.
It's super important for me, where it's like you're gonna do things differently. Like I want you to go hard on people and yell at people. And,
talk to us.
I want you to,
talk to us.
I want you to, penalize everybody and write everybody up.
We used to do house visits. There was
we built this church on house visits, man.
And we're like, we just met at the coffee shop. It's just not the house.
I'm always like, if somebody was 60 seconds late, man.
I don't want to sit on a dirty couch. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like.
Yep.
But if you can get results and do it in a different way, I've got to be open to that, because then I'll lose you, or I'll lose younger people. I'm not saying that I should bend and bow fully.
Sure. Yeah.
There's certain stuff that I have to stand on business on.
Yeah.
And there's certain ways that, okay, you do have to conform to some culture, but I can't be dumb enough, I can't be, that rigid to where I'm like, okay, if you see a different path and you feel like we can get there, I need to let you try that.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of the fact that we have several Gen Z staff. And not only do we have Gen Z staff, but at the highest levels, 2 and 3, we've got next to kin, and we have designated survivor.
Come on.
Which you could easily be in that role, you know.
Sure.
So it's not even whatever, but you have to make up for lost time for quitting. So we have to penalize you. Anyway, Julio, final thought, and then let's close this down.
Final thoughts. I want to say this to Gen Z leaders. And I want to affirm some boom millennial leaders as well.
You guys got to stop saying
it's going to become a thing.
I love it.
Yeah, it's going to be all over X. But anyways, but some things are timeless. Integrity is timeless. Respect is timeless.
Come on.
Honor is timeless. Those are things that transcend generational differences.
Facts.
And those are things that you always have to yield to. Those are things that you always have to lay your life down for. And those are things that cannot be compromised. And so wherever you find yourself, whether you're a lead pastor, boom millennial, whether you're a Gen Z trying to make a difference, those things are common ground that we can all find. And if we live by those things and we're open and honest and transparent, we can accomplish a lot together.
It's great. And producing results. Right. Timeless.
Timeless. Our work, man. Timeless.
This is great. I enjoyed this. I think we should keep this going at least a second round. And hopefully I won't have to carry you guys the whole time, the second time. But seriously, thank you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining us on this newest episode of Leadership in Tough Places. I want to invite you, hey, subscribe on YouTube, connect with us if you got questions or you want to hear other stuff, comment, and we'll try to hit it on the next episode. Follow me online, Xavier, Julio, and let's just stay connected, and we'd love to have you back for the next episode.